Good evening, humans. Tyrannosaurusmoth here, and tonight we're taking a look at the AEW Unrivaled 12 Jamie Hayter figure from Jazwares. Jazwares has been kind of hit or miss with the women's roster in terms of their figures. So the question is, how did they do with Jamie? Well, let's talk about that. Let's do this. Aesthetically speaking, this figure looks pretty good. And, I'm going to say right off the bat, in terms of representation in the women's roster for the Jazwares lines, this kind of falls somewhere in the middle. Like, it's not the most accurate, but it's definitely not the least accurate. And they did some good work here. So they're definitely showing progress. And we'll start off with the likeness, and definitely a decent likeness. I don't think it's one-to-one. It's definitely not the best we've seen in either Unrivaled, Unmatched, or Supreme, but it reads as Jamie. It's just not quite 100% there, but they definitely have the notes, so you can tell it's her. And in terms of the gear, she has very busy gear, but that definitely lends itself to a lot of potential, and I think they did some good work here. There's definitely there's a lot of sculpt going on for the gear, and that's awesome. As you can see, we got the kind of separate piece here below the diaphragm, and we get the top kind of actually sculpted in there. The fishnet is painted, not sculpted at all, but I mean, that's to be expected. I mean, that would definitely be a lot, and would probably lend itself to a lot of paint errors. But the colors here are nice and vivid, especially with the kind of, off gold. The only thing I think to say, obviously we got the black and then the orange and the white. And the orange, not quite as vivid as the actual gear probably is, but it definitely reads properly. We got the nice representation of the tattoos here on the thigh and the forearm. So good use of tampos going on there. Really nice silver going on, like very nice and bright silver, which I like to see. So some vibrant metallics, pardon me, are always a welcome addition. And overall, I did think that definitely a very decent figure. Finally, I just want to go over the boots here, and I didn't realize she had kind of the opposite color boots with the black and the white. It looks awesome, and very well represented here, especially with the silver chains on the side of either boot. So that's aesthetics. Not too much to speak of when it comes to accessories here, but let's get into it. So pretty much we get a few sets of hands. So right out of the box, we get the kind of just open hands, open palms, if you will. Then we get a pair of C grips. And then finally, we get a pair of fists. And that's pretty much it. So that will do it for accessories. Articulation balance here are definitely decent. As you can see, we can't hold our freestanding kick. This isn't the best looking one, but you can definitely get into it. Took a little bit of work, but there you go. Getting into finer points, this is definitely a more restricted figure than we have seen in the past. And for the head, we get a little bit of up, not really any down, no really side to side. We do get rotation. And a lot of that is owed to not just the hair sculpt, but the fact that we do not have a lot of room under that head sculpt. So you're not really going to get too many places, unfortunately. Coming to the shoulders, we are on our hinge and swivel. We come just past the T into kind of a shallow Y. We do a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, come completely in half. Then we get hinge and swivel at the wrists. Then we get a ball joint at the diaphragm and a swivel at the waist. So the crunch, not really crazy, and part of that is actually owed to this separate piece in the middle, which you can see is kind of an overlay over the midriff. So we're not really getting too much forward. Okay. Actually, if you come too far off, you are going to separate it, so you can actually see what that joint looks like. So we get kind of a swivel here and then a ball joint within the middle of the torso as it is. So we get a little bit of arch back and slight side to side, but nothing crazy. Coming down to the hips, and not really full splits, nothing crazy, but it definitely works. Then our front kick is pretty much complete 90, so that's really nice. We get some thigh swivel, we get double jointed knees, come to about 90 thanks to that knee pad. We get some boot swivel. We get perfect point. We get not really forward, pretty much just neutral. And then we get lots of rocker. So that's articulation. Getting into size comparisons, here she is with some other AEW figures, with some other wrestling lines, with some Hasbro and some Mattel, with some imports, with some monsters. Finally, with articulated icons, Oni and yours truly in human form as a Valorverse Action Force figure. So my final thoughts on the AEW Unrivaled 12 Jamie Hayter figure from Jazwares is that this is definitely a decent figure. Again, not the best I've seen, not the worst I've seen from Jazwares. Just kind of sits somewhere in the middle. So definitely if you are a Jamie Hayter fan, absolutely pick this up. Especially the chase, which I am still looking for, which the only difference is that it comes with her entrance jacket, which I think adds a lot. So yeah, I definitely think that would have added a lot to this figure just in general. But again, I haven't said it yet, but I do kind of hope we see a Supreme of Jamie Hayter at some point, because, you know, a kind of premium version with a soft goods coat, I think would absolutely just knock it out of the park. So fingers crossed for that. But in any event, again, if you're a fan of Jamie Hayter, definitely pick this up, especially if you find the chase. And in general, just, yeah, I recommend it if you're a fan. So that being said, I hope you found this review informative and somewhat entertaining. If you did, please consider coming back, because I do multiple reviews a week of action figures related to tokusatsu, dinosaurs, monsters, pro wrestling, and more. So if any of those things, if all of those things, if some of those things appeal to you, come on back, let's talk some more toys, let's have some more fun. So ultimately, I just hope you're well. I hope that all your toy dreams come true. And most importantly, I hope that you and yours stay weird, simians.